Our planet is a beautiful place, but sometimes you can't help but wonder if the other planets in our solar system are just as beautiful. Of course, you can't actually go to any of the other planets in our solar system, not yet anyway, but there are some places on the surface of our own planet that offer a view of the other planets that will blow your mind. In this video, we're going to be listing those places off for you to see if you can maybe make a trip to those places and see these planets for yourself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. First up, Mauna Kea, Hawaii, United States. This mountain is located on the Big Island of Hawaii and is one of the most spectacular places on Earth. It is incredibly unique in many ways, but in particular, it's unique because of the sheer amount of stars and a particularly amazing view of one specific planet when the conditions are right. Getting to the top of this mountain is surprisingly easy, as you can simply drive from the bottom to the top in less than 2 hours. But of course, you have to stop halfway up the mountain to make sure that you don't succumb to altitude sickness. But once you get to the top of the mountain, you'll be blessed with one of the most amazing views of the stars that Earth has to offer. Not only will you be able to see the stars, but if the conditions are right, you'll get a front row seat to one of the most tremendous planets in our solar system, Jupiter. Jupiter and its bands are clearly visible from the peak of this mountain on clear nights, which makes it one of the best places in the world to see Jupiter and all the constellations that surround it. This place also provides astronomers with a unique sight that can only be seen in this one spot, and it's called a moonbow, which is a rainbow that is made with light projected from the moon rather than directly from the sun. I know it's not a planet, but still, I thought it was worth mentioning. If you ever find yourself on the Big Island and you're looking to see some planets, stars, and maybe a moonbow, take the 2-hour drive up Mauna Kea and see it all for yourself. Next up, True Dark Skies Trail, New Mexico, United States. Hard to believe that both of the first two picks on this list are in the United States, but its landscape does offer enough diverse landscapes to see the stars and planets. What makes this place particularly amazing to see stars and planets is the fact that it is so incredibly dark. Moreover, the landscape in New Mexico provides a vastly diverse picture of high mountains and low valleys, making it a perfect spot to see stars and planets. There are a few planets that you can see very clearly from this trail during peak times and conditions that simply cannot be beat anywhere else on Earth. Those two planets, that's right, two, not just one, are Mercury and Venus. The planets can be clearly seen through the lens of a telescope and in the right conditions can be seen as a bright light in the sky with the naked eye. It's a tremendous sight and is one that has inspired multiple artists and folktales throughout the years with the indigenous population that originates from the lands of New Mexico. The skyscape is so amazing that it was actually named the first international dark sky sanctuary in the Northern Hemisphere. And if that doesn't give you a solid idea as to how clearly you can see the items in the night sky, I don't know what else will. Along with the view of Mercury and Venus, you can also get a great view of Orion, Gemini, and Taurus, which once again, they aren't planets obviously, but it is definitely worth mentioning if you're thinking of planning a trip based around star and planet gazing. If you ever find yourself in New Mexico, this is, of course, a place that you have to spend some time in. Next on our list, Los Angeles, California, United States. Now, I know this is starting to look like a United States fan account, but I swear it isn't. The United States just happens to have some of the best views of the stars and planets, and this next spot is no exception. This next spot is normally a place to see stars. And by stars, I mean celebrities, not the astronomy kind, but surprisingly, LA is an incredibly amazing spot to see both kinds of stars and planets as well. When the night is right, the sky opens up and you can very clearly see a great deal of stars and a few planets as well. Of course, you'll need a telescope as there is pretty much no way to see either the stars or the planets with the naked eye thanks to the light pollution coming from the city. But if you find yourself in LA and if you're looking for planets, you can look up and get a decent view of both Jupiter and Venus if you have a telescope. Both of them are not easy to spot at the same time through a normal over-the-counter telescope, but if you decide to bite the bullet and buy a ticket to the Griffith Observatory, you can get a view that is beaten by very few places on Earth. What makes LA come in so high on this list is the fact that the moon comes so incredibly close to the city during peak times. And while the moon is not a planet, you can get an extraordinary view of the surface of the moon through a telescope. So of course, that is simply extraordinary. There are few places on the planet that allow you to get a view of the moon this up close and personal, which is what makes it such a go-to destination for stargazers and planet viewers. If you find yourself in LA with a telescope and some time, you'll be in one of the best destinations to see Jupiter, Venus, and the moon, and I can assure you, you'll be offered views that you will not want to miss. Next up, you can be anywhere on Earth to get a view of this next planet. This next pick on our list is going to be going a bit off the board, but you'll see why in a second. Some of the planets in our solar system are only visible on certain nights and certain conditions, and when the Earth is in a certain position. But for this next planet, you can be anywhere in the world, and it can be pretty much any time of the year. As long as it's nighttime, you can look south of the moon and see the planet closest to us, the red planet, as we've nicknamed it. But it's better known in the scientific community as Mars. Mars is close to us in comparison to other planets in our solar system, and because of that, it's almost always visible to the naked eye anywhere on Earth. What makes it even easier to spot in the night sky is the fact that it's bright red-orange, which makes it stand out amongst the other stars and satellites in the sky. Mars is easily visible during the early months of the year as the Earth is rotating closer to the moon, which technically puts us closer to Mars than any other time of the year. Seeing Mars is easier from February to June, but it's still visible at other times of the year. However, you're definitely going to need a telescope if you want to see it then. While there's no particularly better place on Earth to see Mars than any other spot on the planet, we couldn't give this planet its own particular spot to see it. However, we did not want to leave this planet off the list. It's easier to spot at different times of the year, however, so if you find yourself awake and willing to see Mars, the best time to do so would be during the months of January and June. Lastly, anywhere in Northern Ireland has a surprisingly good view of this particularly hilariously named planet. Our last pick is sort of like our last pick in the sense that you can technically see this planet from anywhere on Earth. However, you can get the best possible view from the shores of Northern Ireland. The planet in question is Uranus, or Uranus, and while it can be seen in the night sky on certain occasions, it is particularly noticeable in the night sky with a telescope in Northern Ireland. Uranus is a bright blue planet and is noticeably bluer than other stars and items in the night sky with the naked eye. But through a telescope in Northern Ireland, you can actually see the surface of the planet quite clearly. It is truly spectacular that you can see a planet that is so far from our own. And if you ever find yourself in Northern Ireland, particularly in the months of September to December, you can get an extraordinary view of this hilariously named planet. And I can tell you, it is not a view that you'll want to miss. That's all we have for you guys today on the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the content, and we'll see you all in the next video.